Welcome to the Cloud Veterans Operation Sentinel. This is a weekly, pretty much weekly training that we do for veterans, but it's open to everyone. Anyone's free to join and learn. Today, we're going to be talking about chat. Well, originally, 2 weeks ago, when we sent out this invite, it was around Codex, because at that point, just to show you how fast AI is changing, at that point, Codex was its own separate application. Since the time we announced this and today, they integrated it into one. So they brought Codex into the main ChatGPT app, so there's not two separate applications. There used to be Codex was the name of the application and ChatGPT was the other. Clearly, this is intended to unify the app experience for users, very similar to how Anthropic's Claude works, right? So within Claude, you have a chat, you have a co-work, and you have code, where you can code. So that's what they've done. Let me share my screen here. Everyone can hear me okay? Great, excellent. Okay, great. So now I'm sharing my screen. This is the ChatGPT app. It's the newest version. If you haven't launched it in a while, you'll probably have to run an update so that you'll see Codex in here. But you know you have the right version in ChatGPT when you hit this little drop down up here in the top left corner, and you can see ChatGPT, which is the main chat app, and Codex, which is the main coding app. So things that I'll point out before we dive in here, and this applies to both GPT or Codex. You have in here different types of models. All right, so you have 5.6 Tera, 5.6 Luna, 5.5, and 5.4 Mini. What does all that mean? It's not very intuitive. Usually, the higher the number, the more you want to use that model for more sophisticated, multi-step, very important type of planning or task that you're asking it to do, whether it's coding or even in ChatGPT. Tera is the top of the line model. It's often the most slowest and the most expensive when it comes to tokens. So you definitely want to use it for hard multi-step problems, like building an app from scratch, untangling a bug that spans several files, or architecting something new. If a task is generally complex, and speed is not that important, then you're going to want to choose Tera. Now, what's interesting is you have Tera, but then you also have back over here. You can do within Tera, you can do high, medium, or extra. Again, this is just how much tokens and effort you want to put into the model itself. So some people I know will come in here. They'll change it. It's not letting me get out here. There we go. Yeah, so they'll change it. So even like within Luna, for example, you can try to give it, you can give it extra high sort of in Luna. If cost is a concern, the best thing to do is just use the lowest model for now on the highest level of effort. And then if you need to, you can always bump it up a model if you don't like the result or it's not able to figure out what you're trying to do very quickly. And by the way, this is a little unique to GPT in that they have a model, but they also have an effort. Cowork does not have that effort piece. It's just the model. But back to the models themselves, again, Tera is more sophisticated. Luna is the same as Tera, but it's a newer generation, but for lighter and faster than Tera. So maybe not that complex, but it's important. Perhaps research or competitor analysis or helping you build a go-to-market plan where it's still complicated, but you want the result quicker and faster to start reviewing it. 5.5 is the previous generation, which is still pretty good. It's very reasonable cost-wise and very well proven. And 5.4 Mini is the smallest and fastest. So it's great for low cost, quick response. It's got the least reasoning depth than the models above it, but use it for simple, high volume, speed first work, like quick edits, reviewing a document, simple lookups, small snippets where you don't need a lot of deep thinking. And again, the effort matters as much as the model. So it controls how hard the model works before answering. You can pair any model with any effort level. A capable model on low effort can underperform a lighter model on a higher effort. So keep that in mind. As a general rule of thumb, something that I do, and I hope someday that these apps auto choose the model for us based on the task. Because I'll set, the highest model at the highest effort, and then I forget that it's there, and then I ask it to do something very simple, and I'm burning tokens that are very expensive that I didn't need to do. So hopefully, ideally, someone will come up with a way, or maybe an add-in or a plugin that will auto choose the model based on the ask that you're giving it, so you're not blowing, expensive consumption and AI thinking on sort of simpler tasks. Great. You guys should be able to drop into the chat if you have any questions.
Can you hear me now, Greg?
Yes, I can hear you, Philip.
There
Hey,
we are. Hey, sorry about that. Had to change some settings there, but I am in the chat. I'm monitoring, so I'll keep an eye on that, and I'll interrupt if there are questions or comments.
okay, fantastic. All right, so this is the ChatGPT screen. We've all sort of seen this. We're going to dive into Codex today. So you can see here in Codex, there's a few things there's one item here that got changed, but it's basically pull requests, and we'll get into that later. Sites, scheduled plugins, those are the same in chat. These are specific to Codex. But when you land in Codex, you're going to see 4 cards on the screen. Every time you open a new chat, you're going to see these 4 cards. Explore and understand code, build a new feature, app, or tool, review code and code changes, and fix issues and failures. Those are the 4 main workflows and work streams inside of Codex. Now, you don't have to have written a line of code before. That's what Codex is for. You speak to it in plain English, and it will build the app for you. And we're going to run through all of this. We're going to run through all 4 cards. We're going to build an app from scratch using plain English. We're going to publish that app. We're going to make some bug fixes. We're going to review the code, and all 4 of these we're going to run right now in a real life simulation in a demo that I've chosen sort of specific to veterans. Can you see my screen still? Okay.
We can see it, Greg. There's a question if you can possibly increase the font size or zoom in a little bit. Is that possible? Currently, it's a little bit small for you.
That
That looks better. Yep.
is that good? Yeah, especially if you're on a mobile phone, it's a little hard to see.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
better.
on the desktop version, by the way. The mobile version is a little different. Just the placement and everything, obviously for formatting reasons. So what I did was I'm going to put this into the chat and you guys can follow along if you have Codex installed. This is the prompt that I put into Codex earlier, and it's in plain English. So it says, build a single page web app called Mission Translator. Can you guys see that in the chat?
Yes, we
A
can.
user enters a US military job or MOS code in the text box. When they submit, show 3 matching civilian tech roles, a 1-line description of each, and the recommended first round certification, AWS, Azure, Google, for that path. Use a clean, modern, dark UI. Include built-in sample data for at least 8 common military roles, so it works without any backend or database. Plain English, nothing technical said here, just some thoughts off my head. When I run this app, it takes about 15 minutes. So if you want to run it now, it will build on its own. And I will bring up the site here. 1 second. Oops. So once that's run, it will build the app for you. And then it will publish it for you, but only you'll be able to see that publish. That's the default. You can see here, and I ran that. It added a site here under sites in the side menu. It says only me. So if I click in this to open it in browser, it's going to ask me to log in. Actually, I have it here already. Let me just bring this up. Be quicker here. Let me share this real quick. Let me zoom in a little bit. So I've gone in, I've reviewed this site. Let me show you over here. Can you see my screen here?
Yes, we see it.
So with that simple paragraph. It published the site for me. Again, only I have access to see this. And I can see here I have the military roller MOS. I have a translate button. I have some samples. I'm going to put in here infantry, translate. Infantrymen is matched. And then here are the matches that it recommends for Azure, fundamentals, for AWS. It has the cloud practitioner. And for Google Cloud, it's recommending the cloud digital leader, which is cool. I could put in anything in here, really. I could do a 25B Army match from built-in sample sets. So it's got also here for AWS, Azure, and Google. I could have said added more like Oracle and IBM and all of that stuff. I can go back and change this if I want very easily. And so you went from one paragraph here, hitting enter, about 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, depending on what model you're using, you will have this live site only visible to you, but you can share that to the world even when you're ready. So when I built this app, I just told it, someone puts in a role and give us the recommended training certification path. But the problem is most veterans or whatever you're trying to build, most people don't just have one job in the service. They often have multiple jobs. So I'm going to put in, for example, two different jobs here, two different roles. I'm going to say sniper and infantry and translate. So you can see here, it only matched on infantry, didn't look at sniper because I never told it someone may have more than one role when they put this into the search. And so I need to fix this bug. I need to tell Codex, hey, fix this app, fix this bug. I don't need to know anything about coding. I'm just going to describe what's going to happen. So I'm going to go back into the app. Go to my screen share here, 1 second. Let me bring it over. Be easier this way. Here we go. So I'm going to edit this app. I'm going to need to log in again. 1 second. Give me 1 minute here. Having some login issues. But I will tell you, assuming you guys are following along here, let's keep this moving. This is what you would paste in the app as soon as it's built. This is the second prompt we're giving it here. I'm going to drop it into the chat. So in here, I just describe in plain English what this bug is. So right now, the app only handles one military role at a time. If a user enters two or more, for example, sniper and infantry or 11B, 25B, it fails to account for both. So just go in and fix the app so it detects multiple roles and the input, then return civilian tech matches and a recommended first cloud certification that reflects the combined experience. Then run it so that I can confirm. When it finishes, you can see that you'll be able to, when you put in two parameters, it will now work. So there again, back over here, make these changes. So I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to change this to high just so it gets done fastest.
Greg, where is the app pulling the jobs from? We didn't specify exactly where for it to look. So was it just scraping the internet and trying to find the best possible matches or?
Exactly. Yeah. So in the initial prompt, I said when they submit it, find common military, build in sample data from at least 8 common military roles. I didn't tell it where to go. I didn't tell it what to do. It just went out and found what are the 8 most common military roles and built cloud certification paths for those on the back end or
Got
within the app. But for example, you could have all of that mapped out in an Excel file. And you could import that Excel and say, use this Excel file to build the database backend for this that's got all the columns and all the rows of all the data that you want. So if you're sitting on Excel sheets of data or even text files or maybe exports, if you export something out of, say, your bank or Stripe or your subscription service, your SaaS product, and you get that into an Excel format, you can quickly pull it in here and have it build an app for your internal team to be able to pull data. So it does ask if it can connect to the internet if and when it needs to. I'm going to say yes here. And so this is it. So you don't even need, I mean, you can just tell it to build a dummy app. You can tell it, hey, this website already has all the database. If it's a let's just say a census website, and on there is all the details in a embedded table on their web page. You can say, hey, go to this web page, grab all that data on this web page in the table, and use that to create your database. You could even, if it's a PDF, for example, it doesn't have to be a website or an Excel file. If you had a PDF of information, you can have it use that and build its own database based on that. All right, so when this comes back, we're going to try and do it on two roles just to show you guys. And we'll try again the sniper and infantry, and it will basically come back and show us multiple options for these roles. The nice thing about this is you talk to Codex just as if you would talk to a teammate on your team, and it handles it. You don't have to be technical. You don't have to be specific. Obviously, as you test the app, you're going to find things that maybe you forgot to say or tell it what to do or how to define something. Like I didn't think at first, oh, there could be a multi-role scenario until probably I got some feedback from a user saying, hey, I'm putting in more than one, and can you make that edit for me? But even then, it's very easy to get those edits in there. Now we're going to jump over here. Let me go back into sites. We're going to go to Mission Translator. Let me bring that up. So I'm on a web page right now. You can see here that it's got the cloud certification provider up here in the top right. I now want to go to my dev tools by hitting F12. You'll see some dev options in here in your browser. I'm going to click on this one in the top right here that says toggle device simulation, which is basically going to show me what this looks like on a mobile phone. I could just pull up my mobile phone and check it that way too, but this is a little easier. And so you can see here, this is the experience that someone's going to see on mobile. And right away, there's a few things that are off here that you don't have an issue with on the desktop. One is the samples are taking up more than half of the screen in the very beginning. So if someone searches, they have to scroll through all of this sample stuff before they can actually see their result. Not a great experience. Also, down in the result, you'll notice that the first one looks pretty good. It's got the Azure badge up here, but the second one, it's got the AWS badge underneath. It's not in the top right corner like it is on desktop, and that's not very easy on the eyes. Same thing with the Google one. So we got sort of randomized cloud provider badges on here that don't look good just on mobile. So we want to fix that. And we can do that again in plain English. I'm going to turn this developer mode off. Now we're here. I'm going to go back to Codex and edit. So now we're here. I'm going to do another prompt here. I'm going to put it into the chat if you guys are following along. Do we use the same prompt? Jeremy's asking. Yes, you can use the same prompt, Jeremy. The ones that I'm putting into the chat. So you have the first prompt will build it. The second prompt will fix a bug so that it can look at two different roles that someone may put. Now the third is going to actually make a modification to the code so that it works better on mobile. This is the prompt I'm putting in here, and I just dropped it into the chat. But essentially, or is it review this app specifically for mobile phone? So I don't even need to necessarily tell it. Two problems to fix. Well, here I am saying. So first, the cloud certification badges, AWS, Azure, Google, is positioned inconsistently across the result cards. So that's one thing I just asked to fix. And then I said in the second paragraph, so make the placement consistent. And then second, the user has to scroll past an entire input panel and all the sample roles before reaching their results. Reorder or collapse things so the translation results are easy to reach on the phone. Also check basic accessibility, et cetera, et cetera. And when you run this, it's going to apply those changes. And we'll come back and take a look at that in a few minutes. But then the mobile version will now be fixed. Nothing will be done to the desktop. It's purely going to go in, take my business requirements for what I asked it to do. Again, nothing technical, don't know how to write a single line of code, and make fix those issues that I saw visually. Same thing with the bug with the multi-role thing. I didn't have to go into the code to change that. I just said, hey, this is a bug, and figure out a way to make it work. All right, so while that's running, I'll give you the last prompt. So in the 4 cards here, you'll see this fix issue, review code and suggest changes. So in here, I can say, and I'll put into the chat, this is the 4th prompt here. After obviously the app is built. Now let's just say you're starting a new job, or someone else has written this and they're passing it on to you to maintain, and you need to understand how this application is built. If you take that 4th prompt in there, you can just say, explain the code base as if someone's never seen it before. What does each file do, and where exactly would I go to change color scheme, for example? So this works not only with apps, but for example, if you want to connect a GitHub repo into here, you can have it just review it and tell you exactly how this thing was built. We'd have to go into the actual site to make the edit to see that. So now I'm in Mission Translator. I just ran it outside in the normal chat. So let's drop it here, and you can see it's running through. So the first, still thinking, okay, so the first, if we go back here now to the Mission Translator here, before we do that, I am going to show you just how to ship stuff and make it live. So that's under sites. You can see here that this is published. It's, if you look at the URL, it's a chatgpt.sites website. Anyone can get to this current URL, but you have to log in as me and only me in order to view the site. But it is a public URL. It's not running on localhost. So if I want to share this with the world, it's very easy to do so. So it's already built the real site. Now I'm going to publish it to the world. I'm going to click share. I'm going to change just me to anyone on the internet. Publish. Now I can visit this site. It now made this publicly accessible. Now everyone here on this call can now get to my Mission Translator. This could be your team, your coworkers, your friends. Maybe you're building a betting app or a stock tracker or anything you want. So now you can see here that it made the bug fix on the roles, because now the sample for the input has 2 roles. So it's letting me know I can do more than one role now. And let's do that. Let me come back here and show you. Let's do the sniper and infantry. And here we go. We have 4 roles now because there's more than one. We provided more than one role. So it came in with the recommended and the 3 other options. And this could have been, for example, 25B and 11B, information technology specialist plus instrument. See, so it's got both roles in there. And then these are the recommended certifications. That's funny. Notice how now the AWS stuff is this is like real world stuff, right? You make one change to try and fix something and it messes up something else. So that would be another bug fix prompt to say, hey, this is also happening on the website. Make sure that the platform badges are in the top right corner of each match. Again, plain English, and it would make that change for you. So that's the ship it live option. So we went from building an app to fixing a bug to looking at explaining the code base to shipping it and making it live. So in less than 30 minutes, you can take any thought for an app that you have and make it live to the world. It's super easy to use. You don't need to know any code whatsoever. There's 2 things that I'll point out here that we're not going into today. But over here, as I mentioned earlier, you have this thing called pull requests. So a pull request is how you propose a change to code and get it reviewed by someone else before it goes live. You make edits on a copy and then request that they get pulled into the real project. Someone looks it over, comments or approves it, and merges it in. It's a check and approve process that's very standard in development communities. So if you are going to build an app and you have more than one person in this, it's always best that the person writing the code is not the person that does the QA on it. So the developers would, once they're done with what they're doing, they would create a pull request. The QA person would go in and QA it. And if that looked good, they would approve the pull request. And that would publish that change live. That's essentially pull requests. And then you have scheduled in here. These are scheduled tasks that you can tell Codex to run on a timed interval. So imagine every day, say Monday at 8, or just Mondays at 8 a.m., you want Codex to pull new veteran signups or to look at how many people have used your military translator app and put together a report and email it to you. That's something that you could schedule in here. Any questions, Phil?
No questions. There was a question about the recording of this. I believe we will have
Okay.
it up on the website or in our Discord later this week.
Okay. Well, hopefully you guys have Codex in front of you now. You've been following along, running these prompts. If not, I'd like to add, let's take a little break here. I'd like you guys to build something in Codex. I have here 3 prompts I'm putting into the chat that you can use right now. You don't have to do the one I just did. If you're new to code, I would go with the first one. If you have a little experience with vibe coding, you could do the middle one. And obviously, if you're a developer, you could step into that third prompt there. But if you guys take a few minutes, go ahead and build your own app in Codex and get that started and underway. We will take a break here for, let's say, 10 minutes. Let's do 15 minutes, and then we'll come back. And I would love for a few volunteers, or if anyone built an app or has an app, actually, rather than taking a break here, you guys can run these for now. When someone has something that they've built or they've built in the past they'd like to share, I'd love to have a volunteer discuss what they've done in Codex in the past.
Sounds good. And I'll be monitoring the chat if there's any questions during the next 10, 15 minutes. And then we'll be right back.
We'll give you guys 15 minutes to try these prompts, give it a shot, and then when someone has the app built and it came back, just drop something into the chat and we'll jump on at that point. And you can give us a quick demo of what it looks like. Thanks. Meantime, if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop them into the chat. I'm still monitoring things. Right. Guys should be wrapping up here in a minute or two. Does anyone have a finished app already built that they can share? If so, let us know. We can promote you to a presenter so you can share your screen and let everyone take a look. You can also see here while we're waiting, this was the other prompt where I asked it to explain something about this app, explain the code base to someone who's never seen it before, and where do I change the color schemes. So it's got in here, basically everything is in this page.tsx file. Here's where it's currently set. That's in the globals.css file. Here's the actual app here. Here's the deployment build setup. Unused starter capabilities, assets, docs, and tests. So without having to dig into the code myself, if I was a developer, I could get a very quick assessment on what's inside this code. This works great too. I work with some dev teams where I hire them to build stuff for me. And I'm not a developer. I used to be years ago, but I don't know nearly as much as the developers do. And so I will point Codex to review the code that they wrote it. I'll ask you to search for any security vulnerabilities, anything that doesn't follow best practices, or things that could possibly be bottlenecks in terms of throughput. If we had 1,000 people do this at the same time, is that going to be a problem? and it would assess the code for me just as an architect would, just as if I paid someone 20 grand at Avanade or Accenture, for example, to come in and look at this code, probably more than that. They can Codex can do that for me now for maybe $5. So it's pretty amazing. Anyone have anything they can share? Still building on my end. Okay. I figure depending on how complex your prompt is, it can take a little while. And depending what model you choose. And remember, there's the models are here. The 5.6 Tera is the highest, most complex one, the one that's also the most expensive. And then you also have an effort. So you have to choose your model and then choose your effort. That's a little bit different than Claude. You just choose the model in Claude. I guess it just assumes in Claude you want the highest maximum effort for that model, which kind of makes sense. I feel like that second layer of effort makes things very confusing. And you have to just test things more to figure out, is it Terra light, Terra medium, Terra high, Terra extra high, Terra ultra? Like, it's a lot of different efforts in there. And trying to pick the best one, you have five, six options for four different models. So it's a lot of testing you need to play around with to figure out what you're going to use it for. I typically just use the effort on medium, and then I just select the model, and I just do medium on the most. And then if I'm on the highest level and I'm not happy with medium, then I'll bump that up extra high or ultra. All right. Well, it looks like folks are still building, so we will go ahead and wrap it up. Well, hopefully today was useful for everyone. Hopefully you got a good overview of Codex. You're going to want to play around with it as much as possible. It's a very powerful tool. Claude Code, Claude Code's a little different. I'd say it's a little more complex than Codex. You use what's basically a CLI command line. This is also similar to a CLI, but it's still sort of a chat-based app building. So if you're new to building apps, I would recommend using Codex to do that. And when you're comfortable and you've been using it for 3 to 6 months, maybe look at adding Claude Code or moving to Claude Code because it's got a little more power.
Couple
So
notes in
base, yeah,
here,
go ahead.
Greg. There's like Matthew did build a website using Codex. If we want to, Matthew, I know we got a few minutes here. If we wanted to
Yeah,
promote
let's
him
do
and just
it.
have him share.
Sure, Matthew. We just promoted your, you should be able to share your screen now, Matthew. I'll stop sharing mine. Stop share. There we go. Matthew, you should be able to come off of mute as well.
There we go.
All right. Perfect. Now we hear you.
So, hey guys. I did this a couple weeks ago using Codex, and it was kind of funny. I didn't actually know what Codex was. I was just using Chat GPT, and it switched me over. So, this is where are we? And there we go. I had made a side hustle down here in Texas, and that's 25 Bravo, just trying to offer up services. So I used this Codex to create this entire website just to sort of get out there. I have an option for a contact us field, which goes directly to the new email. And I have, again, multiple pages for things to know, networking, consulting, support plans. Just it took maybe about a day. And again, that was because I'd never touched this before, but I don't really know how to code. The last thing I did was in college and it was HTML and I couldn't tell you how to change the color on the font today. But again, just a pretty simple web page that has call it 6 different quote unquote pages, but it's all static. It's hosted in my GitHub, and yeah, from a
That's
perspective of
great.
I've never done this before, it was really easy.
It's super easy. Thank you for sharing, Matthew.
Of
And it
course.
looks great too. I mean,
Thanks.
and you know, a lot of these websites like Wix and Squarespace, right? They have templates to choose from, and you never really quite find a template that you really like. So to be able to just tell it what you want in real language without knowing a lick of code is huge. And if you aren't even that descriptive in what you're providing it, it will just come up with stuff and assume things based on sort of best practices for a website or an app. So,
This
uh, yeah,
this
go
whole
ahead.
logo was created by it too. So I mean, they
Wow. Yeah,
yeah.
that's very cool.
Oh yeah, there you go.
That is very cool. I like how I put the star too inside the A for the Texas flag. That was pretty neat. All right. Well, one other thing I'll just mention, so nobody else has another site. Great. Um, if you're brand new and you find Codex is too difficult, there is a step earlier you could do. You could go into Lovable. It's still prompt based, but it's much easier. It's easier than Codex. It's like the super beginner level. If you want to start at super basic and you're not really using ChatGPT today, you can start in Lovable. When you run into limits there because you need something more powerful, you can move to Codex. Eventually, as you get better and better, that's going to have limitations, and you can move into Claude Code. So that's where I would start if you're just getting started on your journey.
Awesome. I don't see any
Okay.
other questions or comments in the chat here, Greg. So
Okay. Well, folks, listen, this is what Cloud Veterans is all about. We help veterans turn their service into tech careers that pay good wages. We've been around since 2019. We've served more than 1,000 veterans. We have an 85% first attempt certification pass rate, 70% job placement within 6 months of getting your certification. That's really, to us, what it's all about. We provide free training to veterans. We pay for their exam certifications, their exam prep, their hands-on labs, and then we also help get them placed if they're looking for jobs. Not everyone is coming in looking for a job. Some just want to get a promotion within their job or just learn a new technology. You don't have to get a certification. And that's essentially what we're all about. We're at cloudveterans.org. If you're in any position to make a donation, $5 or $10, feel free to do so. We would can always use the help. 100% of donations go directly to veterans. We have no overhead, no salary, no marketing expenses, no expenses whatsoever. So 100% goes back to veterans. Fantastic. All right. Well, we appreciate everyone's time today. Hopefully you guys learned a lot. This will be recorded. We will put it onto our website. Thanks for jumping in. Thanks for investing in yourself to learn a new technology and push yourself, especially in this world of AI where things are changing so quickly. It's more important now than ever to stay up to speed on what's out there and how it's moving and how to work with it. So congrats, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Have a great weekend. We will see you on the next one. Thank you.
thanks, everyone.